Hello and welcome to another video. In this one, I want to talk to you about my pursuit of Diarmuid Gráinne, and some of you might be familiar with the story of Diarmuid Gráinne, and if you're not, I'm gonna retell it really quickly, and if you are, you can skip to the next bit. So Diarmuid Gráinne is a story from the Fenian Circle. I'm talking about this like I know. I just looked it up on Wikipedia, and it's set in the 3rd century, but it was starting to be written down, compiled in the 7th century. So that means in the 3rd century, obviously Ireland wasn't Christianized yet. In the 7th century, they had started. So the Christian monks, who were the people who could write, they wrote it down and they put their Christian filter on it. So you can see that the story changes, or the versions change. Like Grainne can choose her husband, stuff like this, and some of the heroes get divorced in the earlier versions, and then later on they have to rewrite the stories to make them fit, because of course in a Christianized country, especially then when the Normans had come and the early Irish Christianity was extinguished, they weren't so fond of divorce. So these kinds of things changed over the centuries, but the story is that Grainne is supposed to get married to Finn McCool, but he's very old, she's quite young, he could be her grandfather, so she's not really that thrilled about that idea. So she chooses his grandson, Dermot, instead, and through some trickery she gets him to flee with her, and they flee for a long time and all over Ireland. And there are a lot of places in Ireland, mostly up in mountains, that are called Diarmuid Gráinne's bed, or Labba Dermot agus Gráinne, which is the Irish for the bed of Diarmuid Gráinne. And they have nothing really to do with the story, because it's only a mythological story. And also these so-called beds are dolmens or wedge tombs or things like that that are way, way, way older. That isn't to say that they couldn't have slept in them, but they certainly didn't build them. So just to make that clear, that they are centuries, if not longer, apart. So I started mapping them on OpenStreetMap so we can track Diarmuid Gráinne's flight. And so that's my pursuit. And the story is actually called The Pursuit of Diarmuid Gráinne. So that's kind of my pursuit as well. Sometimes these locations are only called Dermot's bed or Darby's bed, but it still means that both of them slept there. Maybe that's from the time when they slept separate. After a while, they didn't sleep separate anymore. And the story allegedly, or some scholars believe, have influenced the story of Tristan and Isolde. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. There's, of course, the Wagner opera, and there are other stories by there's a medieval German poet, Gottfried von Straßburg, and he wrote a version of it as well, and it might have been influenced. And like, I haven't looked into this, I'm not a Celticist. I have studied German literature with a focus on medieval literature, but it's a long time ago and I haven't used it since. So I think that maybe because Irish monks were sent out to Europe to found monasteries, or they just did, and maybe they weren't sent, and they were the first ones to write down stories like that they kept on the tradition of the story, and maybe that's how the knowledge about the Diarmuid Gráinne story came to France and Germany, and that's how that came about. I don't know. So what you see in the picture there is one of those Dermot beds. It's in Limerick. Not sure if it is mapped yet. I will look it up. So the way I do it, they are on the British War Office map, these Diarmuid Gráinne's bed. And of course we can't search the British War Office map because it's a scan of a paper map. So it's very difficult to find them. You can't divide Ireland into squares and look every square to find them. So what I do instead is, relatively successfully, is I looked them up in the schools collection on ducas.ie, and I found two that I will show you and look at it with you. So the first one here, the story is called Dermot's Bed. The collector is didn't look this up now. Anyway, the teacher is James Conlon, and it's in Grainne, County Tipperary. I haven't found a single one in Kilkenny, unfortunately. There are quite a few in Tipperary, and loads in Mayo, Donegal, some in Galway, I think. Clare as well. So this is in Grainne, County Tipperary. Sometimes the spelling is different in the actual story, so you have to look at what's over on the left-hand side. I'm hoping that by the time this video gets out, I'll be done with this task. It's just an idea of what you can do with OpenStreetMap. Mapping mythology, why not? So I'll just read it out to you, and I'm probably gonna butcher some of those names. I'm very sorry about that. So here we go. In the townland of Shanagort, about 1 mile west from Grainne School, there are 3 upright flags covered on top by a 4th flag, and their structure is known locally as Dermot's Bed. Roughly the stones are about 4 feet long, 2.5 feet broad and 6 inches thick. The opening to the hollow space inside is on the west, and some people believe it to be a druid's altar. There is not any story known about the bed, nor are there any accounts of spirits or ghosts told about it. No one seems to know when it was erected, and there is not a trace of Ogham writing on any of the stones. The bed is in a backward spot among the Shanagort Hills, about 10 Irish miles southwest of Nina, and very close to Moherclea. So there's some information about there that might help us localize it. So I'll go to Grainne in County Tipperary. And I have looked it up beforehand just to make sure I'm not looking for half an hour. So I think it's in this bit of the forest here. I'll click edit. And I already have the British War Office layer chosen. And if you haven't done that, if you have Bing or Esri or whatever, you can change that here in the layer menu and then British War Office map. And because I've already looked it up, it's right here. So you see Grainne, common actually. So that's where it is. And if you zoom in, there is some writing here that, believe me, reads Diarmuid Gráinne's bed. The British War Office map is a scan, so it's not a great resolution, but you get to recognize the words after a while. So it seems to be here, and I will change to Esri to be able to figure out where it actually is, hopefully, if there's anything to see. Yeah, so you see there's forest planted here. It's all very neat in rows, very unnatural, but here is a circle. And then in the middle, there seems to be some sort of megalithic structure, I guess. I would have liked to go to some of them, but I have to think of the carbon footprint, so I won't. So there's nothing mapped here, so I'll just highlight this as a rectangle, roughly. And I'll go with archaeological site, and you can type that in the search. Or you can go with historic archaeological site, and I'll square it off. And it is a megalith, for lack of better knowledge about it, because it is some sort of a wedge tomb or a portal tomb, I don't know. And as the name, I will put down Dermot and Grainne's bed. And the spelling is, of course, anglicized, but don't despair. I'll add the Irish name as well, which I got from Wikipedia. Not about this structure, but there is an article about the Pursuit of Diarmuid Gráinne, and you can look it up. And it gives the reference to all these megalithic structures and gives the Irish name. So that's what I'm using here. And as a source, I will put in British War Office map, and also I'll use this the Ducas thing. And also it is more or less visible on Esri World Imagery. Shinny, save that. Added Diarmuid Gráinne bed. I've done this before, last night. And I used the hashtag Dermot agus Gráinne. I'm using the Irish spelling there. And I don't really have to put in the sources again because I already put them in with the object. And I can upload that. Sometimes I do add a path if I can see one. Because I presume people want to visit it. And you find a lot of them more scientifically on the historic environment map, but you can't use it for navigation. So you can get it all in OpenStreetMap. I could add the reference number for the National Monument Service as well. So if I wait for a while and then refresh, hopefully we can see something. There should be the general historic icon, which is an amphora, a brown amphora. And then it should have the name on it. So there it is. As I said, the brown amphora and the name Diarmuid Gráinne's bed. And the other one is in County Clare in Core West on Mount Callan. I'll read it out again. Hidden treasure at Mount Callan. In the western side of Mount Callan, it is said by the old people that is a crock of gold hidden there. Long ago, there lived in Mount Callan 2 people named Diarmuid and Gráinne. They came down from Galway. They used to work hard every day, and when they grew old, they had a crock of gold. They hid it in the western side of Mount Callan. They put it there because they were afraid it would be taken from them. It is said that some people tried to get it, but they could not find it. So it doesn't seem like it has anything to do, or not much, with the story of Diarmuid and Gráinne. The names are the same. Could be a coincidence. Might not. So I'm not quite sure if they came from Galway now, actually. But they were travelling anyway, a lot. So well, let's just check it out. So Core West and County Clare. And I have already looked it up, and it is actually in Core East, I think. So this is the townland. Yes. And I'll click on edit. And I have to change to the British War Office map, of course. And it's here. I can't really see any structure on the British War Office map there. It might be this dot, might be this dot, might be this dot, it might be this whole field. We'll see in the Esri layer. I don't really see anything here. I'll just mark things that I see on the map with the point. And hopefully one of them will be on the British War Office map. The roads are kind of lining up. Actually, no. If I adjust that here. Yeah, so it seems to be this dot here. I'll delete this. So back to this. I'll use the area again. It might be a capstone of something. Archaeological site and megalith, and the name again is Dermot and Gráinne's bed, and name GA Labo Diarmuid agus Gráinne, source British War Office map, and again the Duke's collection. And S3 world imagery. And save this. And I can use that again. And I don't have to add the sources because they're on the object. Upload this. Obviously, it would be better to go there and check the location out to see what it actually is. And obviously, ideally, take a picture and upload it to Wiki Commons under a category Diarmuid and Gráinne's bed. Wouldn't that be great? But it's County Clare. I'm in Kilkenny. I don't drive. It would probably take me 2 days to get there. So, you know. But if anyone in County Clare is watching, hello people from County Clare, please take a picture and upload it to Wiki Commons. I'll refresh the page. So there it is now. That probably only took a minute or so. And that should make 19 now. We'll check on overpass-turbo. We could also try to search it here first. Dermot and Gráinne bed. So that some are done as place locality because it's sometimes difficult to judge from the British War Office map what it is referring to. We get that sometimes, especially like you need a lot of background knowledge to do this. You have to know, like sometimes you can judge by what the name is, if it is just a hill or if it's a sub-town land. It's very difficult. So some people have mapped them as place equals locality because that's the easiest way to presume. I have gone and corrected some of them. So you can see here we have locality. 2 of them are place locality. There are a couple of archaeological sites, attraction in County Galway. So maybe that's where they came from. Cave entrance. I think I might have mapped that yesterday, and then more archaeological sites and so on. And you can click on any of those and it'll bring you to the map. And if you have a sat-nav based on OpenStreetMap like organic maps or OSM, you can use it to drive there. You might have to walk the last bit though because they're not quite accessible. It's probably why they chose those locations, not that they had the option to drive, but they didn't want to be found. And on overpass-turbo, because I recently searched it, I don't have to type anything in, but if you want to do a search like that, and I'll put the link in the description, because I can't use for a specific key like a megalithic structure or anything like that, because some are cave entrances, some are mapped as place locality, some are mapped as what I have to search for is name equals Dermot and Gráinne's bed, and that's why it's very important to follow the spelling on the British War Office map. I had to go and correct some of those yesterday as well. So Dermot and then the ampersand Gráinne with the weird anglicised spelling bed. And I'm looking for nodes, ways and relations. There are no relations, but it's easier that way. To just put the NWR down here. And then when you do it with the wizard, it usually gives you the output as body. So this line here, line 15, would say out body. But then you can't count them, and there's probably some code to count, but I haven't figured it out. It's easier to just change body to center, and then you get the result in the bottom right here with the right number. So I will run this now, and I have set the timeout. The default when you use the wizard is 25 seconds. That didn't work. So I've changed it to 65 seconds. But you don't have to wait for it to search. I'll forward the video. Run. So down here, I hope you can see that, maybe not. It says POIs 19. So that's the number that are mapped so far. And once you watch this video, there might be more if I found more. So there's one up here, and there's a cluster here in, presume that's Galway, Clare. I think it's Clare. And then one up here. And is that Leitrim? I remember doing something in Leitrim last night. It was late, I can't remember. Sorry, my geography is terrible with counties that are not close to Kilkenny and that I've never been to. I've been to Clare, but I haven't been to Leitrim or Donegal or any of those. There's some in Donegal. And there are 3 in Tipperary, I think. One of them is a cave entrance. This one here, if I remember correctly. Maybe not. One of them was anyway. And there's also a Dermot's Well nearby. And I'm not sure if that's this Dermot or if it's St. Dermot. I have to look into that. I might do a session of mapping St. Dermot's Wells because I came across them in the school collection. I forgot to say that. What I looked for was just Dermot in the search because of the different spellings of Gráinne. And I might have missed some, but I got 17 pages of results. So I have to work through them. I'm on page 12 now. And then I might have to look for the more Irish spelling. And then I might have to search for bed as well. So it's a kind of it's a needle in a haystack is what it is. But once it's done, I think it'd be nice to have them all on the map and you can go and visit them all, can make that your life goal to have been to all the Dermot and Gráinne's beds. So shin. I hope you liked that. It was a bit different than the other videos, but I thought, why not? And I'll see you in the next one. Slán go fóill.